I feel privileged when you decide to join me, Joan Jerkovich, your life coach, right here on News Radio 1150 KSAL. And based on my caller coming up who's concerned that her husband and his two brothers might have a fist fight at their mother's funeral, I'm going to talk a little bit about when do you maybe decide to break ties with those strained family members, those strained family relationships. Now, this is never something entered into lightly, and I'm guessing that you're always going to have a situation where you've had years and years of this going on, discontent, discord, maybe even abuse, and you feel that it's just become too much. But an interesting piece of family relationships is that oftentimes families will tolerate more bad behavior than good. Because don't we all know that it's the family that's going to be there for you in those tough spots? We all take the good with the bad when it comes to our family. They've seen us at our best and they've seen it at our worst. But what about that unconditional love? Well, when you think about a healthy relationship, there are some key ingredients, and this includes family relationships as well. These would be that unconditional love we're talking about. Also, an ability to agree to disagree at times. There has to be some element of forgiveness. Things will happen and go awry. We have to forgive each other. There should always be respect. I'm a big one on this respect thing. And the other thing in families is that you don't have members that are trying to always change or control each other. Now, that would be what a healthy family relationship is. But you heard that list and you said, whoa, Nellie, wait a minute, Joan, not me, not us, not that person in my family. So here's what's happening. You've been thinking about this for a long time, and that is cutting ties with that family member that you find to be so toxic. Now, no matter how strained or how intolerable or maybe even abusive that relationship is, this is going to be a really difficult decision to make. You're going to feel guilty, like you're a failure, and maybe even very sad about the situation. Those are understandable feelings. But here are some things to think about as you consider breaking ties or even cutting back or pulling away from a family relationship, such as what's been going on here? How long has this been happening? What's the history of this toxic relationship? You know what they say, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So if there's a really bad history, a long, extensive history, then that's going to be one of those times that it's going to be a little easier to cut ties. Consider who else in the family this affects, because you might not be the only person involved with this toxic person, but you also, if you decide to cut ties, are going to have the whole family mad at you. You need to manage these family relationships and evaluate the effects on your decision, not on just yourself, but on others as well. So you may need to decide, is this person so awful that it's worth upsetting the whole family unit? Will other family members support your decision? They may or they may not. But if the only reason you're keeping contact with this toxic family member is because of other people's opinions, that's not the reason to do it. You're the one being harmed or hurt, so hold firm with your decision to cut ties or at least back off. Now, it's always a good idea to step back and say, okay, what's my role in this? What have I done to cause this? Be a part of it, be a willing participant in this. Maybe you've always kind of been the enabler or the fixer or the one that tried to keep the peace, and that way you always became the scapegoat, and now all of a sudden you want to speak up. Well, maybe it's time for you to speak up, but do own what your part in this has been. In considering severing ties, think about how far away do you live from this person? Because sometimes it might be one of those situations where surely you can just kind of get along for a couple of holidays a year and basically don't see each other the rest of the time. It makes it easier to get back to your normal lives after a short period of drama. Distance might be one of those factors where you can just kind of roll with it. How much stress and distress is this actually causing in your life? You have to think about that relative to your job, your personal life, your current relationship. Maybe it's a birth parent that's causing problems in your current family, which has to take precedence. How much is this affecting your life? Now, as you move toward cutting ties, don't think about rehashing and maybe trying to find resolution again. I think you've already tried that, because sometimes you can think about the fact that cutting ties can be a decision that's kind of semi-final. It's just semi-permanent, and maybe there's an open door for possibly mending or repairing this relationship in the future. Now stay tuned for my 2 callers, and then coming up at the end of the show, more about toxic relationships, when is it okay to say goodbye, and how do you go about cutting those close family ties. This is the Joan Jerkovich Show. I'm your life coach here on News Radio 1150 KSAL.